So we all contribute to the running of the internet, and I think that is also a fundamental element for end user or everyone out there to understand that, we all have a stake into this thing called the internet. We all contribute to how it is run. We can influence. By the way, we have that power because it's a distributed system, and that is the beauty somehow of the whole thing. So what happened is that the name that you type is not what the technical system underneath the internet will use to get you to where you want to go. Because computers talk to each other using number. We humans are used to name. So the first thing that will happen is that your computer will find the number that is associated with the URL you type. And that process is handled by the DNS, the domain name system. So your computer will take the name you have typed, will send it through a process, give me the IP address, which is the number that is associated with that name. And that process is very well defined in the DNS protocol. It will start from asking the question to your DNS server. The DNS server will take that question and go out in the wild to find the IP address associated with the name that you type. It is only then that the real retrieval of the information or the service you are looking for starts. And that happens so quickly that we don't realize that it is happening in the background. So once your computer gets the IP addresses, then it starts talking, it starts retrieving the information. And it may do that for hundreds of names that are even hidden behind the only one name that you type. But the most important thing to keep in mind here is that the first step is always to find the IP address associated with them. And I can come in at that top level. In the process, if you type an address, you type, let's say, something at something.com or .net or .org. ICANN role is more about the .com, .org, what we call the top level domain. The role that ICANN has primarily is to ensure that the identifier system that are used here are properly coordinated, right? To ensure that information provided throughout that system is something we can trust, is happening in a predictable way. So for that to happen, ICANN exists coordinate how different operators, different players in the ecosystem work together to ensure that the DNS is predictable, because that is key. If we say that is the first thing that happened for your computer, we want to make sure that when we type that, we got something back that is we can rely to. Sometimes you need to add a layer of security to the underlying protocol or the way the system works. You need to make sure that people implement those additional layers. Sometimes it has cost, so make sure that people understand the value of implementing or adding those additional layers of cost. So yeah, that is something we are working on that is a bit challenging, but I will say is that is a good challenge to have in the way that it is the success that create that kind of challenge. So the first responsibility of ICANN is to ensure that we work collaboratively to ensure that it is reliable. ICANN will work with a broader community of people impacted to define policy that will say how we register or we enter new name into the system so that it is globally recognized. The second aspect of ICANN responsibility here as well is to provide technical mechanism at the back end once the name are made available. What are the processes to make sure that now that they are available, they can also be used in a secure, reliable, and resilient manner. So those two aspects are how ICANN fit in. And that is also another very beautiful aspect of what we do. There are several mechanisms that are built into ICANN processes that allow the community, actually people that are affected by what ICANN does, including end user, to watch what ICANN does. There are mechanisms there where community, different constituencies, different impacted group appoint representative, and those representatives look at how ICANN work, look at how processes are implemented, look at how budgets are defined, etc., and provide their input, or say, hey, things are not going into the right direction this way, need to be corrected. So the beauty of the way ICANN work, it's allow a very bottom-up participative process whereby people who are impacted have the ability to keep the organization accountable. That give user and actor a power that is unique. It's unique, but they can decide at any point of time that things are not working the right way, and I can have to listen to it because we pledge to a bottom-up multi-stakeholder governance model where the accountability is a key element. The internet is not the infrastructure. The application that we see of the internet for us is different from the infrastructure or the architecture of the internet. And I think keeping that separation in mind for policymakers particularly is key. Unknowingly, by trying to protect their constituents, but not take into consideration that difference, they may take law, regulation, which impact can leak into the underlying infrastructure. And we want that separation to be always kept in mind so that we maintain the stability of that underlying infrastructure that allow us to innovate. It's because the underlying infrastructure has been stable, has been strongly, grounded into some of those principles and are not, quote unquote, politicized because they stay at that level. And ensuring that underlying infrastructure stays stable, stay resilient, stay trustworthy is important, because if we don't have that, we cannot build on the top all the innovation that actually make the internet the success it is. We need to be conscious about the need of better balancing the economical power with the original philosophy that underlies the internet success. That means the internet is growing. There are more and more economical consideration to take, social consideration to take. But the internet was designed with the philosophy for it to be diverse, to be completely decentralized, to accept, different point of view because of its decentralization. For some economical reasons, sometime or other reason, there is a tendency to re-centralize the whole thing. And I think we need to be more systematic about mitigating that centralization of the infrastructure and of the service, and making sure that the internet remain as wild as possible while we are continuing to protect around it. Because more it's centralized, more we are having one single point of failure, and more we are moving away from the original philosophy, allowing the resiliency to be built around the distributed system. So for me, if there is one thing I want to be strengthened in the coming years, to make sure that all the economical value of the internet doesn't trump its distribution, and centralization is a risk that we are facing more and more.